Make the Koys pay for what they have done. Insert crazy action montage.
Oh my God, no! I have information. I'm gonna help you. Stop!
Welcome back to another N-Cut movie review. Today we have Boy Kills World, a movie packed full of action, gore, and some crazy fatalities. If you want, drop a sub and a like. Now let's roll the intro.
The plot of this film is centered around Boy, Bill Skarsgard's character, and the film picks up with him in a fever-like dream version of Karate Kid, where we see him being trained to take on some sort of a challenge or some sort of a mission that he's been brought up to do by his mentor, who's literally just called Mentor. The names in this movie for the characters are absolutely ridiculous. It's quite funny. I think that adds to the funniness of this movie. And throughout this training montage, we see Boy go from a young boy to an old Bill Skarsgard who is ready to fight and take on the Koys, who with the narration of H.J. Benjamin we find out that are responsible for the murder of his family. And the rest of the film is essentially Kill Bill, except you replace Uma Thurman with Bill Skarsgard, and we have Bill just avenging his whole family against the Koys.
And the acting here needs to be mentioned, especially Bill, because Bill's acting always holds up, especially in this though, because he's actually mute in this movie. And because he's mute, he has to lip read. So he reads dictionaries.
It's in the bloodline. The Skarsgård Bill line. The Skarsgård bloodline. That bloodline, acting royalty.
It literally is. It's gold in that bloodline. Also in that bloodline, what you have to mention is how good the physiques are. I mean, no Diddy.
No Diddy, man's jacked.
No Diddy, but the man is shredded to the tits in this. And I mean, so's his brother in Tarzan, I think.
And Northman.
Or Northman as well. It's another great mention. And even Bootstrap Bill in Pirates of the Caribbean. You can't see it because he's got the fit on, but it is what it is.
Barnacles.
The barnacles and seashells and shit. Yeah,
Covered in barnacles.
He's jacked underneath that though. We all know that. So Bill Skarsgård in this whole film does not utter a single word. He is mute the whole time, and it's shown at the very start that he reads a dictionary so he can lip read. So that's his whole gimmick, is he lip reads this entire movie. The narration to this, as Geordie's already said, is H.J. Benjamin. That voice is so iconic that when I heard this, it somehow threw me deeper into this DMT trip of a movie and made me more invested. But there's other people that you also have to talk about throughout this film, such as Sharlto Copley, who is always up there with the greats. When we talk about the greats, we talk about Jesse Plemons, we talk about Paul Dano. He's up there as well. We have to mention this guy. He is captivating. His presence on screen and the chemistry he has with Brett Gelman, very funny and very entertaining. Also, Brett Gelman, he's amazing co-star and amazing co-actor of the Koys, and he's basically their brother / gangster that cleans up all the crime scenes. And he's in other films such as The Other Guy.
Hey! You get back here! You make love to my wife!
And he always brings a humor aspect to that. And in this film, he also brought that as well, which is so funny to see. This movie is just literally one big LSD DMT trip, and everything's just super funny and out of pocket, and he adds to that.
This would be Joe Rogan's favourite movie, I reckon.
Honestly.
I haven't heard about him talk about it.
He probably sees this shit when he's on DMT.
That's why I imagine, this movie is what I imagine goes on in Joe Rogan's head.
Literally.
24/7.
All the time. And this is the director Moritz Moore's first film, and it is unnoticeable of how good this film is. You wouldn't expect this to be a director's first one, because it had great transitions. I mean, you have an all-star cast, which definitely helps you, but he did a fabulous job, because if you don't know and you can't pick out all the really little issues of movies, then he's done his job, hasn't he?
And he's also been guided by Sam Raimi, which, I mean, everyone knows. If you don't know who Sam Raimi is, he's responsible for one of the greatest trilogies of movies, the Spider-Man trilogies with Tobey Maguire, and an assortment of other films. And so if he's at the helm as a producer, you know that the director is going to be in safe hands and get guided through to make a well-done movie. Surprisingly, this movie is actually really funny. For a movie that's called Boy Kills World, you wouldn't suspect that it was going to be a comedy, but it is. And one of the funny things that they sort of played off on was the fact that Bill Skarsgård's character is mute, and they play off that really funny by, in certain scenes, he uses lip reading to be able to understand what the characters are saying in the movie and then narrate that back to us. And we'll just call this guy the Beard. So every time the Beard talks, Bill Skarsgård's character is trying to understand what he's saying by lip reading him, and he struggles to see the lips because the lips are covered by the beard. And what comes from that is the fact that this guy just says random sentences, random words all jumbled up that make absolutely no sense, and then it cuts away to a scene that is those random words in the scene. So for instance, he says something along the lines of a duck swimming in a pond, and then the next scene will cut to a duck swimming in the pond. It's just the most ridiculous humor ever, but it's sort of funny and catches you off guard, because I just didn't expect anything like that to be in a movie like this. And that just continues on the fact that this movie is just one big DMT LSD trip, because the humor is just hilariously all over the joint between Sharlto Copley and Brett Gelman, and also Bill Skarsgård's ability to be funny without actually saying any words or whatsoever. I know H.J. Benjamin is narrating it, but the facial sort of acting that Bill Skarsgård does to sort of make his character larger than life, because he can't obviously speak, and use that dialogue as a way to make his character that way, really hones into the fact that the humor was a pushing factor of this whole movie. And the action side of things played into that as well, where the action and the humor sort of blended in as one. And from the action, I sort of got Scott Pilgrim versus the World vibes, where a running factor in this movie is the fact that Bill Skarsgard's character, Boy, and his sister, June 27th, used to play... June 27th, once again, what a name for a character. Boy and June 27th, but just bear with me, people, that they love to play arcade games, and a lot of the action in the movie played out like an arcade game, like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and that was sort of funny the way it worked, and that sort of refers back to the fact that we thought this movie had aspects of it that was like Mortal Kombat, because obviously Mortal Kombat is a very famous arcade game, and some of the kills in this movie were absolutely brutal, and not even the kills, just the tools that they used to inflict the damage. I mean, all the worst ways you can think of a cheese grater to be used on somebody get used in this movie. That one scene had everyone in the cinema shrieking, going, ooh, because whenever you look at a cheese grater, the first thing that goes on in your mind is, this on your skin would be the most painful thing in the entire world. And let me tell you, from seeing this movie, it definitely is. And that was one of the interesting ways that the director used interesting kills in this movie, because they weren't just the normal generic kills, they chop the head off, they chop the arm off. No, there was an anvil dropping on a head. There was a cheese grater used to cut multiple people up. There was knives going through someone's leg, using Wolverine-like nails to tear into the flesh. Like, this movie is just gore porn times 100, and it isn't for the people with squeamish stomachs, because if you're not into really gory stuff, you're not going to like this movie, because it pretty much is just plastered everywhere. But if you just love action kills, Mortal Kombat style, crazy action, this is a definite movie for you to chuck it on, popcorn, maybe a bit of LSD, I don't know, who knows what it would feel like. But this movie is crazy and wild in the way that the action and the humor tie into each other and also work so well together.
Speaking about absolute craziness throughout this film, shout out Dave in this film. There's one a super soldier called Dave, and this man hits the jet from Fallout, becomes an absolute psychopath like he's in the Russian sleep experiment, and he's just unkillable. This man gets his arm snapped every which way, he gets his legs snapped every which way, becomes Oscar Pistorius, and then this guy gets back up, hits the inhaler, and he's brand new. Like, he's ready to fight Bill all over again. There's about 8 rounds that they go for, and it's probably going to be more entertaining than Jake Paul and Mike Tyson's fight. This is just a crazy film that chucked in random shit.
It was pretty much like he hit the psycho jet. And if you've ever seen the Monty Python scene where the guy gets all of his limbs chopped off, it was very much like that.
The cinematography in this film, interesting. Definitely a different take. It has a lot of close-ups, a lot of wide shots, and the close-ups mainly are just about the gore. Someone gets unzipped in this film. If you're unfamiliar with that term, it's when someone stabs you and cuts all the way down a certain limb. It's just insane, but yet somehow he's able to fight, and that doesn't matter. Their plot armor is just crazy in this film, but that has no correlation to whatever's going on screen. It's just to satisfy you and satiate that gore porn need that Geordie's already said. But the cinematography was kind of like a new, to me, this is like a new kind of way to film this type of gore. Wide shots, split screens, even really cool transitions. Like at the very start, there's a transition from young Bill to now older Bill, and they handshake, and the camera angle switches to now you've had this massive time jump. So they're all the kind of interesting aspects of this film that the director brought to this film.
And also, one thing that I always love watching in movies is when they when they try to show someone who's like on a trip or high or smoking some sort of a drug or something like that. And I thought in this movie they showed the DMT or LSD trip, whatever, that Bill Skarsgard's character was going on really well. And I always find those funny. And it was almost reminiscent of like that 70s show when they're in the blunt rotation and it's going from Bill Skarsgard's character to his mentor, and they're sort of just going back and forth and tripping. And I always find that funny in movies, in any movie that's ever done. And I really enjoy when they do that.
As always, we wrap these reviews up with a rating, and I'm going to rate this around a 55 to 60%. This is just a great movie to chuck on and leave on in the background of things. It is a crazy, gory movie that, if you're not expecting that, you will find it surprising and be entertained with how far they go with some of these action scenes and some of the combat. Other than that, it kind of hits on everything that a stupid movie's supposed to hit on.
Yeah, my rating for this film would be around about a 65% as well. It's a very good popcorn film, an action sort of film that you would throw on, a very action gory film that you'd be interested in from the beginning to the end. It sort of keeps you interested with different action scenes, different dialogues. H.J. Benjamin's voice, if you're familiar with his work, that keeps you interested in the movie. Bill Skarsgard is a great actor. He's a facial actor. This whole movie, he doesn't even talk yet. You're still captivated by his performance. I wish we could see more Sharlto Copley because everything he's in is always great. I think this director did a really good job for his first movie, and I think he'll have many more movies down the track because he did a really good job. So it's just a typical popcorn movie, which is perfect in this day and age. You know, not all movies have to be deep and serious. Sometimes they just need to be entertaining, and that's what this movie is.
Anyway, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Question of the day: what is your favorite Sharlto Copley movie? For me, it's District 9, but a sneaky favorite would be Elysium.
I was going to say,
Elysium?
Oh yeah, Elysium.
Elysium, yeah.
I was going to say Elysium, to be fair, because I know that Matt Damon's in that and he's dying, and then all of a sudden this guy pops up, one of the fucking prawns that he tries to kill. I love that guy so much. Anyway, guys, it's been another End Cut movie review. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Peace, we out.
Peace.
And cut.